So imagine waking up tomorrow morning. Your alarm goes off, you slowly open your eyes, maybe stretch a bit, take a deep breath. It feels like a completely, perfectly normal morning. The air in your bedroom, it feels exactly the same as it did yesterday. You look out the window and everything just looks normal. The sun is rising, casting that familiar golden glow across your neighborhood. Cars are sitting in the driveways, parked exactly where they always have been. The buildings, the trees, the power lines, they're all standing right where you left them when you went to sleep. Honestly, nothing seems different at all.
Well, until you pick up your phone. You tap the screen. No messages. Zero notifications. No missed calls. No internet connection whatsoever. And then you notice the silence. You step outside and the streets are just completely empty. There are no people walking their dogs, no voices echoing down the block, not even the distant hum of traffic. Just no sound at all. Well, except maybe the wind rustling through the leaves.
At first, your mind races for a logical explanation, right? Was there a holiday you forgot about? An emergency evacuation? Some massive technical glitch? But as hours pass, then days, then weeks, this heavy, terrifying realization begins to set in. Out of the entire global population, 0 people remain. Literally 0 people are breathing, moving, or existing alongside you. You're not just alone in your city, you are entirely alone on Earth. In this explainer, we're stepping into what is easily one of the most profound thought experiments imaginable. We're going to take a journey into an abandoned Earth. We'll be dissecting the psychological descent, the environmental wonder, and the incredibly quiet truth of what actually happens when humanity suddenly vanishes. So what happens when you are the very last one left? This isn't a story about fighting off zombies or surviving some fiery apocalyptic wasteland. Not at all. It's an extreme psychological exploration of absolute isolation. We're going to ask, what would you actually do? What would it feel like? And ultimately, what gives human life meaning when society completely ceases to exist? Act 1. The illusion of freedom. You might naturally assume that immediate survival is going to be your biggest challenge. But the bizarre truth? It's unexpectedly effortless. 7 billion people, just gone. But all of their resources remain right where they left them. The world is suddenly filled to the brim with supplies meant for billions of mouths, billions of bodies, billions of lives. And against that staggering absence, there is just one. You. For the absolute first time in the history of our planet, every single store, every luxury hotel, every mega mansion, every sprawling sports stadium, it all belongs to one person. The entire planet essentially becomes your private property. At first, it feels impossible, totally surreal, maybe even a little thrilling. Yeah, that first phase feels almost like a dream. Food remains literally everywhere on the shelves. Pure water still flows perfectly from the taps. The electricity still works, keeping all the lights on in these massive empty cities. I mean, you could drive the fastest cars down completely empty highways. You could wander through the Louvre all by yourself. The world becomes this vast personal playground. But inevitably, that illusion shatters. Because, well, the excitement fades. Act 2. The weight of solitude. Here is where the narrative violently shifts away from just physical survival. Because you very quickly realize that the first thing you miss isn't your favorite app or the internet. It's people. Humans evolved in tribes. For hundreds of thousands of years, our very survival depended on social connection. We are literally hardwired to expect conversation, laughter, arguments, even just basic greetings. But in this frozen world, everywhere you go is a heavy, unending silence. You walk past empty classrooms and empty restaurants, an entire civilization frozen in time, waiting endlessly for people who are simply never coming back. The last person on Earth isn't fighting monsters, they're fighting isolation itself. The silence becomes absolutely overwhelming, not because it's loud, but because it never ever ends. Loneliness stops being just an emotion you feel on a quiet Friday night. It becomes the entire fabric of your daily reality. Act 3. The Great Reclaiming. As that incredible psychological weight really sets in, we have to shift our focus outward to what is honestly an awe-inspiring spectacle. The planet is transforming. We so often think of civilization as skyscrapers, concrete roads, power plants, all our technology. But the hard truth is, civilization requires maintenance, and maintenance requires people. The great machine of humanity doesn't break down because of a bomb or a meteor. It breaks down simply because there's no one left to keep it running. Civilization at its core was always people. Within days, those unattended power grids begin to fail, plunging cities completely into darkness. As days turn into months, uncorrected satellites start literally falling from orbit. The internet vanishes. Transportation networks completely collapse. And as the years pass by, the concrete cracks, plants start growing right through the highways. Those towering skyscrapers slowly become decaying ruins, ultimately swallowed up by expanding forests. It's a majestic return to Earth's natural state. And we really shouldn't look at this planetary reset as a tragedy, but rather as a wondrous, deeply beautiful event. Animals spread back into the silent cities. The Earth is simply returning to the exact state it existed in for millions of years before we ever arrived. As the last person, you get to watch human civilization fade away. It's almost like a giant sandcastle being gently washed away by the evening tide. Act 4. The Final Observer. Eventually, surviving the elements just becomes routine. Finding canned food and shelter, easy. The real challenge becomes finding a purpose. Why wake up tomorrow? Why bother building a fire? Why create art? You slowly realize the immense, almost crushing burden you carry. You are the only witness left to human history. You're the very last keeper of memory, a living archive. Every song ever sung, every movie ever filmed, every language spoken, every single triumph and tragedy of humanity, it all survives only inside your single mortal mind. When you eventually die, the memory of humanity dies right along with you. Picture this. One evening, many years later, you're sitting completely alone on a mountain, watching the sunset. It is the exact same sun that watched over ancient empires, the exact same sun that witnessed humanity rise and build and dream. Nothing about the sun itself has changed, and yet, absolutely everything has changed. Because, for the first time in all of human history, there is only one pair of eyes left to see it. But within all of this profound isolation, the last person on Earth discovers a deeply, deeply hopeful truth. Humanity's greatest strength was never our wealth, our towering skyscrapers, or our incredible technology. It was always our connection to each other. Being human was just never about surviving alone. It was about surviving together. The friendships, the families, the communities we built, that was the whole point. Which really leaves us standing at the very edge of humanity's legacy, looking out at this quiet, reclaimed Earth, facing the ultimate question. If everything we are is built on our connection to others, can life truly has meaning when nobody else exists?